You're on, Bruce.
So you should be seeing these banks. There was an article in Woodturning magazine, I think it was 369, that showed this kind of mushroom bank with a ladybug on top. And the ladybug is not decorative. There's actually a dowel that runs up through the piece and locks into the bottom of the ladybug, and that's what keeps the lid from being released. So I found that intriguing. I'll show you kind of quickly how it's made. Like a classic box, you have the box and the lid, you put tenons on both ends and part one off, and then make the base and hollow out the base, with the one difference being that you also put a half-inch hole down into the bottom to seat a dowel that's going to get glued into there after the fact. That kind of clear or not? Okay. So then the lid, some of the aspects, you need a flat top on the lid, so you have to be careful about getting that flat, and then work on the other side, which is stepped and fitted for the base, and then also dished out into the dome to make it lighter, but not just to make it lighter, but also when you put the money slot in, it's not a very deep slot that has to go through because you've dished it out, so it's a fairly thin piece at the top. So the through, and you also put a through hole through the lid as well before you part it off, which makes it really easy. And then so then you have the two pieces here, and then you start on the rest of it. The trick to the ladybug is to turn it the basic shape round and then cut off a good chunk of it. Now, how you do that, there's probably 10 different ways. I think the author of the article did it with a hand chisel. I just had, since you have this nice big holding piece on it, I just went and touched it up to the disc sander, and it takes it off real quickly. One thing you have to be careful about is not to go too far, and I went a little too far, I think, because you're going to put holes in this piece for the locking mechanism. So you have a hole through the one end here, which is about a 5mm hole, and then a 12mm here, which is going to seat the dowel. And then you put a hole through the dowel, and then a pin comes right through this, which actually holds it on. And it's really quite clever how you do it. And then you just need to put in the slot for the money, which I did just with on the drill press. Although again, there's probably a bunch of ways you can do that. And I don't show you me making the pins, but I'll show you the pin. One thing I found, and I actually did make the heads exactly alike, and then found on the one on the right, the head was too big for it collided with the base because I had taken too much off the bottom of this ladybug. So as I said, one of the things I learned after the fact was you don't want to take too much off here, probably just enough so it sets down is probably all you need to do. So when you look at it, this is kind of all the parts. The author also told you to make the pins. He starts with the head and then makes the pin on the internal way. I did exactly the opposite because I wanted to make sure the fit of my pin was right before I took it off the lathe. So I make the pin, was very comfortable with the way it fit in, and that the top is just a little big so that it seats in hard, so you can put it all in. You put it all, and you can see here the dowels have been glued in, and there's a hole through the top of the dowel here, which actually is the locking mechanism. And then you get to the final product. And that's the banks, which I thought were going to be pretty simple, but they do turn out to be a fair amount of work. You're muted, John. I see you asking questions.
How does it lock and unlock?
You pull the pin out. If you pull the head out, once you pull the head out, it releases from the dowel here.
So it's not a secret locking mechanism. It's just one that you just have to, yeah.
Well, it's kind of like secret because you don't see it. You can't tell, until you pull the head out and realize that it's a pin that's holding it on. Then the whole ladybug comes off, and the lid then can be lifted.
Now I get it.
Okay.
Thank you. Questions for Bruce?
How did you get those slots? How did you get those slots so even just from drilling holes?
You know, it's funny too, because in the author's article, his looked a little ragged. But I simply went to the drill press, drilled a series of holes, and then just pushed the one hole into the next by pulling the drill bit. Probably better off if I'd used a router bit, probably been the way to do it. And then I just took some, I think 150 grit sandpaper and just went through it. It really was fairly clean all by itself, which surprised me. But yeah, I guess a better way to do it would be we'd use a router bit.
Really neat. A lot of uses for that locking mechanism. You could incorporate that into all kinds of things.
Yeah, I thought that was what intrigued me. I thought that you could use it in a lot of ways. It was fun.
And if you don't want your kids to spend the money, you glue the pin in. Yeah, that way the money has to stay.
Good luck.
No, they'll find a way, one way or another.
I'm seeing ways you could use magnets in that, and have it, make it even trickier.
Okay.
Bruce, John, Magnetic John.
Any more comments for Bruce, or we should move on? Okay.
By the way, I just used Mahoney oil on it, which I think is a nice kid-friendly finish. It's just
they can
just
eat it if they can bite on it if they want to.
Did you say what wood it was?
It's cherry.
Cherry. Okay.
Yeah, I've got a short comment for producing the head. If you produce the head the way you do it, so the dowel piece first and then the head towards the spindle end, you can rechuck the dowel in a collar chuck, like these Axminster Junior chucks, they call them, or whatever. So then you can hold the piece at the dowel end, and then you can rework the head, sand it again, or something like this. So I find these collar chucks for doing little pieces like spinning tops, or the job you did with the head and the dowel. They are ideal for these work, for rechucking something without leaving a mark on the actual tenon or pin.
I just use a pin.
That's actually a really good idea, because I'd simply cut it off and then wound up sanding. But I think that's a really good idea to get a nice shape of the head. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, that's it.
Okay. Let me see. I got to get my spotlights in order here. Back to the gallery. Okay. Let me see. I'm going to move on then. I'm going to go to Don, because I know Don has this raft of pictures he wants to show us, and I'd like to show Angelo's videos now that Angelo's on here.
Wood shop. Thank God for wood.